listen to a pretty alright podcast about wrestling, do ya?
Well, the natural lad, Jim Swag, has said time and time again that there's only one podcast that's the most decent and the most alright in the industry today.
And that's it's the Game Rage Wrestling Podcast. Back once again, brought in by the world's most decent wrestler, the natural lad, Jet Swag. Welcome everyone to a brand new episode. You could call this an impromptu episode of Game Rage Wrestling. My name's Josh. I'm here today with good buddy Adam.
Greetings.
And if you want to hear us talk about things that aren't wrestling related, but things that you like nonetheless, you should go to GameRageMagazine.com. Also, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. YouTube is the easiest place to find all our shit. We're our Game Rage Magazine on there. And if you want to follow Adam, you follow him at All Gas No Trash Official on the gram, as the children call it nowadays. I don't think they call it that anymore. They probably call it like Skibbity Ohio Toilet Riz or some shit. Fucking Skibbity Bebop Doolop. I don't know. Bibbity Bobbity Boop. Fuck, whatever. You can follow Adam there.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Majin Buu.
Nah, that'd be cool. They're not cool. They're not cool anymore. And you can go listen to the All Gas No Trash podcast, conveniently located at all the places I just fucking talked about. And it's the Game Rage Music Podcast. You'll love it.
And if you want to fucking riff on anime bullshit,
oh yeah,
go to the Anime Syndicate and find out Josh and Frank's latest opinion about fucking Monster Girl Doctor.
Oh yeah, man. What do we call? What did you say? Hentai disguised as a fucking anime,
or a harem anime disguised as a fucking hentai.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, it's a hentai disguised.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's a thinly veiled attempt, and you can see mermaids get gill fingered. So if you like anime, go fucking listen to that.
Yeah.
Anyways, today we're talking about wrestling.
Wrestling.
The fucking wrestling. And now Adam brought this topic to the table, and I felt that even though he just told me this topic like 2 minutes before we sat down to start doing this.
True story.
I felt like this was a very good topic. And the topic being, right now we're in a political time in the United States. So what better than to talk about, what makes America great? No, what makes wrestling great? What is the thing things that makes professional wrestling great? And I'll let you go ahead and start off, good buddy, since this was your topic. If you have anything, I could go. But
You can go first.
all right.
I think you probably have more to say than I do.
For me, I obviously, man, we want to have some good storylines. We want to have some good wrestling, but we don't need it to be every storyline a good storyline or every match to be excellent wrestling. Okay, we don't need that. We need some comedy matches thrown in. It's like, to me, the best time in wrestling was obviously myself, and probably a lot of people in our age range will agree that the Attitude Era to, I guess you could call it the end of I think it was called the Ruthless Aggression Era, was like the next era. So it was like let's call it 96 to like 2006. Let's just call it that, right? 10-year period. I think that was the best time in wrestling. I think the first half of that was excellent because we got to have legitimate competition. There was legitimate, I don't want to call it rivalries, but there was a legitimate threat that one of the two companies that was the major companies could put each other out of business, and they were both putting on excellent fucking things. They were both putting on good storylines. They were both putting on great matches. They had They had almost like everything. Now, granted, it wasn't fully perfect all the way through, as nothing is. But I think that part of the reason why wrestling has suffered over the last 10, maybe 15 years is because there hasn't really been any legitimate competition to the WWE. Because once they took it, that was it, right? They owned they were the number one guy in town. TNA didn't fucking even, never stood a chance. Nobody stood a chance against the juggernaut of WWE 2001 when they bought WCW. Everybody was dead. No one even knew what the fuck anything else was. Now, that lasted for like 5 years, from like 01 to 06, and then the novelty started to wear off. And then we started getting into this kind of PG era, I guess, or whatever, which I do think has been, it's been needed. I don't think that wrestling would be at the current height of popularity that it is now. I think it's very arguable to say that professional wrestling, or at least the WWE, is more popular in the mainstream now than it was during the Attitude Era, I think.
I think it's also very strange that we had someone that is on par with Ric Flair, with John Cena, during one of the, well, I guess it could be debated whether it was one of the worst times, but one of the duller times in wrestling,
Yeah.
well, especially for the WWE, that reign, or that time of him reaching 16 titles, was when,
Arguably the dullest time, one of the dullest times in wrestling.
yeah.
And I think it's interesting you bring that up, because I do think that, like with history, I think wrestling is cyclical. We go from these hot periods to then these cool periods, and then we heat back up again for 10. It's like I don't know if it's 10-year cycles, but I mean, if you look at maybe from like the late 70s to probably about, the late 70s to like maybe the late 80s, wrestling was fucking good and it was huge. I mean, from going from WrestleMania 1 to all that shit in the early 90s, and then for like maybe a little 7-8 year period, wrestling was like super gimmicky after that. It was all you had like the character guys, and you had some of that in the 80s as well. And that was kind of they were like the superhero, larger than life characters or whatever.
And one dimensional, that's all they were.
Yeah, they were just solely one dimensional, and then that wore off after a while, it became dull. And then that led to the rise of essentially the Attitude Era, or whatever you want to call it, right? That kind of led to that, where the kids that grew up in the 80s and watched wrestling and loved all that cheesy fucking shit, now they're adults and they're not into that no more. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to pivot. What do adults in the 90s like? Oh shit, they like violence. They like fucking big old titties flopping in their face. They like to see Sable walk around with fucking black hands on her tits and her ass hanging out. And they like to see fucking mud wrestling matches. And they like to see fucking dudes bleeding and hardcore shit, right? They like to see ultra violence. And then that maybe starts to wear off. And then we get into, okay, now we want to attract the children again. So we go back to this 10-year period or whatever, that 10, 15-year period where it's like, oh, hey, we're PG, blah, blah, blah. We're lowest common denominator. We're bringing in families. And then when those kids grow up, like they've mostly all grown up now and they've become adults, now we're going to get to see this again. We're going to get to see like another, I think, resurgence of the Attitude Era. And I think that's going to be ushered in by Netflix, right? And to me, I was a kid, like my introduction to wrestling was, in like 1993 when the gimmicky shit was there and all that stuff. And I watched all the old stuff from the 80s, watching on VHS tape, right? All that stuff was great. But then I got lucky and, obviously I was like, like 10 when the Attitude Era kind of started. So I was still technically a kid and was like, oh shit, this is even better than this stuff. And then when I got into adulthood in the, mid 2006, when that stuff was starting to wane and go into this PG era, that was when I'm like, well, I don't want to see this shit. I don't want to see this. So yeah, you ebb and flow, you come in and out of wrestling because it wasn't what I wanted to see. I didn't think it was that great. And now we're lucky we get to see it possibly again, where we get to see these things start happening, where we get to see some of this go down. Now, the one major weakness that the WWE has going against it right now is one of the things that I think makes wrestling great, and that's you have to have a solid roster up and down. I mean, you got to have your opening card, your low card guys, you got to have your mid card guys, and you got to have your fucking top card, and then your main eventers. And the WWE is very top heavy right now. And it's not even to say that they're top heavy, because I still don't think that there's that many guys in believable main title picture roles to like potentially maybe be champion. Maybe between the two shows, you've got like 12 people, right? On rosters that have 30 people apiece or more than 30 people apiece. And the undercard is I hate fucking say it, but it's mostly nobodies. It's mostly nobodies. Except for the people like you got Braun Breaker, you got fucking LA Knight. You got these guys that are now the solid mid-card champion guys now, and they're getting thrust into this role.
Some of them have a ceiling, though, like LA Knight. Like, we don't know if he's ever going to get to the main title picture. Braun Breaker achieving IC title already means he'll be in the main event within the next year or two.
Right. So, but either way, I still don't think that they have the support from the undercard to support these huge blockbuster matches, because that's one of the things that's, and I know that we're not on pay-per-view anymore, right? We're on PLEs. And you get all the PLEs with your fucking Peacock subscription when you're on the WWE. And I think that AEW they're not doing it perfectly or really even that well, but they do have a more solid lineup throughout the middle of their card to where there's a little more to fill it out to keep you interested. Most of the time, we fast forward through, we skip matches all the time on fucking PLEs because we're just like, don't care, don't give a shit, don't care. There is, now, not that we watch fucking AEW consistently, but I've seen the cards, and if I were to objectively look at it and go, okay, most of these matchups I wouldn't skip just off of looking at the two names on the fucking match, right? I would at least give it a chance and say, oh, let me see what this is going to look like. Whereas the other side is, I see the two names and I'm like, don't care. Don't fucking care. They're garbage. Not interested in this. It's not good. So I think you need to have a combination of everything. And I don't think there really is one great, I don't think you can boil it down to just, what makes wrestling great? It's not just one fucking thing. It's the combination and the totality of all the factors combined. It's the drama, it's the action, it's the violence, it's the sexual innuendo, it's the fucking, I already said drama, but it's the soap opera-esque stuff, I guess. Because, I tell people all the time that ask me why I watch wrestling. And I'm like, listen, man, you remember back in the day when your grandma or your fucking abuela or your fucking mima or whatever the fuck you called her would go sit down and be like, hey, I'm watching my stories, or, whatever, my novella, mi novelas, whatever the fuck whatever your grandmother called it or your mom or whoever, right? That's what this is to me. Wrestling that's my stories, all right? That's what wrestling is. It's fucking, it's soap operas with violence. And that's why we love it. That's why Days of Our Lives, all these fucking soap operas have been around for 20, 30 fucking, some of 40 fucking years. These soap operas have been around and on television. Why? Because people just love this shit. Or women just love that shit, mostly. And they like that stuff. This is I don't want to be sexist, but this is the male version of that, or the predominantly male equivalent. Because there's a lot of female wrestling fans too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this is the predominantly male equivalent, at least in my worldview, my skewed, fucked up worldview, all right? This is like my stories. I love them. And yeah, we go through some good times. We go through some bad times. But we still fucking tune in and we still pay attention to it. Now, I will say that I am getting to another point of, do I even care anymore with the current lineups that we have? At least at the top of the card with regards to like SmackDown, right? I don't know. I know this is, we talked about it before, this is all just a holdover till we get to Netflix, right? And I think that's a game changer. I think that resets the whole fucking timeline for wrestling here. And I think that puts us back on the path to great wrestling in terms of the level of storylines, the freedom that, and I think that the system that WWE has put in place has also stifled some of this creativity. They're not letting guys go out there and just fucking do whatever. There's a very structured corporate environment in terms of the wrestlers. You're an actor and a fucking stuntman at the same time. And you need to go out and perform your lines. Whereas maybe the Attitude Era was so great was because they kind of just wung it or winged it. I don't know, is that the way you say it?
Winged it.
You just kind of winged it. You went out there and you kind of had a general idea. They gave you some bullet points and said, hey, I need you to hit this, this, and this. But there wasn't a writing team that would write all of your fucking promos for you, all right? And I think that's why a lot of these things over the last 10 years have come off not that great, are because these guys are out there and they're just reading lines. But when you got some shit like Stone Cold or The Rock or Shawn Michaels or Triple H or whoever, and they go out there and they get to cut a promo with, hey, you need to plug the fucking match this weekend and you need to talk about his mom. That's it. You figure out the rest. Cool. And we get some of the greatest fucking promos that we've ever seen ever. Hell, I mean, of our modern era, I'd say the CM Punk mic drop moment is probably the best promo of this like modern PG-ish kind of era. And why? It was not scripted. It was not planned. It was just he went out there and fucking did what he wanted to do. And obviously they fucking were pissed about it, but I mean, like, he did it. So if they let people start doing that more, I think that is another aspect that can make wrestling great. But the problem is, a lot of these people have been come up and brought in, and now they've been in the system for 10 years. They were started in NXT where they were doing this whole system, and now this is where it's at. Can these people even do this now? Can they even improvise to the level that is necessary to make something good, I guess? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Or maybe we won't. Maybe they'll just keep doing lines and doing whatever. Maybe will just be the end of it. Maybe the storylines will just get a little more interesting. I mean, I do like the drama of storylines because, again, that's what gets you invested. That's what gets you interested. Like this whole Dominic Mysterio fucking storyline. Objectively, if you look at it, that's the stupidest fucking thing ever. But because of the way they present it, I am more invested in that storyline emotionally and just sports entertainment-wise than I am with anything that Cody Rhodes is fucking doing with the bloodline nonsense. And that's sad. That is fucking sad. But man, the way it's presented is great. So, anyways, I think there's a multitude of factors. To sum it up, there's a multitude of factors, in my opinion, that make wrestling great. And if you can hit 60% of them, I think you could do some decent wrestling. You have a good wrestling show, in my opinion. What about you? What are What makes wrestling great for you?
Well, there's so many things that make it great. If I had to think specifically of what does it for me, man, I think it's got to be larger than life gimmicks, realistic larger than life gimmicks, because it can't just be superhero bullshit.
Yeah, that's not interesting.
Then you get John Cena bullshit. Especially when you had a feud like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero fighting over the custody of a fucking child in a fucking wrestling match. It's stupid shit like that. It's getting custody of a child in a wrestling match. That just sounds so stupid and absurd.
Yeah, winner gets custody of the child.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? But that was so good.
But it was entertaining. I mean, even for me as a teenager watching that, I'm like, I don't know why I think this is entertaining, but if anything, it was just because the way it was presented was that Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero had been friends since even before the days of them joining WWE. And then Eddie Guerrero being something of a bastard and having an affair with Rey Mysterio's wife to have this illegitimate child. It's just, I'm like, man, you could have just had a regular wrestling match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, but then the stakes were elevated absurdly, but still entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah.
So you got the balance of both the greatness of both Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, who can do the acrobatic, like the lucha libre stuff, and they can also do Eddie Guerrero's kind of like the do-it-all kind of guy, jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But it was like equal parts this and that. I think fucking Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, larger than life fucking gimmicks, Heartbreak Kid and the Undertaker himself, this undead wrestler, which is also stupid. And then also coupled with the fact that Shawn Michaels ended up taking on the Jesus route, like the Antichrist
Yeah.
to Undertaker's evil Shadow Realm bullshit.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, man. I can't believe we got that. It was the streak versus his retirement.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible, dude. That's not something that just happened overnight. That took years of storytelling. I mean, maybe not even directly related to what was going on, but the story of getting to double-digit wins at WrestleMania for fucking Undertaker. Shawn Michaels being the guy that makes WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then it turns into, what if you put these two in a match for WrestleMania, somebody that hasn't lost, somebody that wows everybody when it comes to WrestleMania, put them in a match where the stakes are raised to the point where somebody's gonna lose, and whoever ends up losing, I mean, that's gonna make fans go fucking wild. I mean, I don't think people want to see Shawn Michaels retire, but if anybody was gonna do it, fucking Undertaker was gonna be the person to do it.
And they did that match 2 years in a row at WrestleMania. They did it previously the year before, and it wasn't for the retirement or whatever. But then they did it the next year and made it more interesting than the year before. They repeated the same fucking thing, but just added a stipulation. And just fucking like, it was even better.
Yeah.
That and I also think having an idea of what you're gonna do 12 months out, 18 months out, having an aspect of the show that is the long con, as they say, I think that's also something that makes for good wrestling. Is a storyline that's like, oh shit, this was a callback to something that happened 12 months ago, and now we're getting the fucking payoff now. Whoo-wee. we forgot about this, and now the stakes are even higher. That's some cool shit right there. And I don't know. I don't know that they're doing it. I mean, they tried with the Cody Rhodes thing, obviously, but it's like you fed us the same thing 2 years in a row with no stakes raised. Basically, it was the same shit. He loses, and then, I gotta spend the whole next year just fucking coming back and doing it. Does the same thing. Comes back, wins the Royal Rumble again, fucking goes, makes it through, has to face a little bit more adversity with, you throw The Rock in there, okay, but
it made the Royal Rumble more predictable.
yeah, because you knew it was gonna happen.
There wasn't enough. It didn't feel like there was enough variables to make it seem like Cody Rhodes was gonna lose. CM Punk just came back. All right, cool. He's in the mix. He's one of the top three, and maybe there's 2 or 3 other people that might make it conceivable that they could win, but nah, not really, not even close. And we came back and revisited it, and yeah, we did have that. But I do want to go back on what you said about wrestlers not taking chances for what's happening currently, because they have done that. They've started mixing in moves that were largely banned from the WWE for a good minute. I don't know if they've brought back the Muscle Buster yet, but Falcon Arrow for sure.
Well, yeah, Vince banned all those.
Yeah.
And now that he's gone, of course, the bans, because Vince was the end-all, be-all. That was it. And now you got a guy who was a wrestler that's basically running the show in Triple H. I don't think any of those restrictions exist anymore. So I wasn't saying that they weren't taking risks in the ring or whatever necessarily as much as they used to. I mean, they did. And I do think that there's a responsibility that the guys that came before the Hardys, like all that tag team shit that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s with all that crazy fucking shit and all the hardcore stuff. The guys who came before that did all that crazy shit, they did it so that you could figure out a way now 20 years later to do the same things but safer. With all the technology that we have and all the fucking, there's tons of ways that you can do the same shit but safer. Now granted, I don't know how you're gonna, I don't know what they would do to sell the chair shots to the dome. That might just be something that we'll never see again. I mean, some people did it in, they've done it a couple times, but like the literal beatings they used to give people with fucking chairs, I think that nowadays, okay, yeah, have a folding chair made out of fucking thin plated aluminum. Mm-hmm. Like, just make sure no one sits on it. Like, it couldn't support the weight of a human, but you could crush a chair on a dude's head that's made out of basically tinfoil and cardboard and just fucking, doesn't explode. Like, it would just crumple, and then it's like, oh shit, they crumpled a chair on this dude's head. It does really no damage to the guy who's taking it because it's tinfoil and cardboard, basically.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way that they could do it. With our advanced technology that we have over the last 5 years, I'm surprised no one's really figured it out. I think they've figured out the table thing because, like, back in the day, it used to be like, oh, they kind of gimmick the table a little bit so that, like, oh, it would just break easier. But that was it. And there was a lot of times where they didn't gimmick it right, and they would the table wouldn't even break. You would dive onto someone and just bounce off because this table was not gimmicked or you grabbed the wrong table. Now the tables have fucking, they're like aerodynamic and shit. The announce table is literally basically Legos.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Like the way it falls apart and they can easily put it back together.
Yeah.
Cool. But before, when it was destroyed, it was fucking destroyed.
And the monitors were fucking huge.
Yeah. That was cool too, man. That's something we don't get now.
I do want to add to what makes wrestling great. As far as like matches go, man, and I don't know if this is a criticism, but the moves have to be fucking sweet sometimes. And even the spots, I think the spots can be limited in some regard. Because if it's just a spot fest, I don't know if I like that altogether. But I need the moves to be seen as a legitimate threat to the person, making it look threatening. Razor's Edge looks sweet.
Yeah.
And it should be able to put somebody away. For Shawn Michaels, it's the super kick. Should be able to put somebody away. And it looks cool. Like that's like the signature that everybody has like things that make them distinguished. And I think in some ways it's become, I mean, there's only so many things you could do in wrestling. And maybe I'm going to eat my own words saying that because some of the women in NXT have been proving otherwise about new moves being invented. But when fucking 4 or 5 guys all do the spear with Braun Breaker, fucking Roman Reigns, and Goldberg at the time when he was still part of the WWE roster, I need a little bit more, man. But in spite of me saying that, I love seeing great moves, like great finishers. I think that definitely adds to fucking wrestling. I think the pedigree is a fucking great finisher.
It is.
I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. I mean, maybe it's part of the fact that you got a guy between your nuts and, well, just underneath your nuts, and then you plant him on the fucking ground. I think that really adds to a wrestler's personality of what they end up doing in the ring. It's definitely the promos, man, because that also plays a part it plays a part in the storytelling, and it really gets to showcase what somebody's really about. Like, you strip away the wrestling and everything, you get to hear what somebody's saying. They're like an 11th degree. They're like an amplified version of themselves. It's like a superhero thing, right? Like, you strip away everything. What is at the core of this person?
Yeah.
And to see that being portrayed through their speech, the way they carry themselves in the ring, just even in the entrance stage, like even them walking to the entrance or going through the entrance, that also has personality. Like how they walk, how they carry themselves. I mean, dude, sometimes I would even say the garments they wear could tell you whether somebody's main event or not.
Yeah, true. Just to circle back on the finishers thing, I do have a point about that. I think also the finisher being what it is, a finisher, a true finishing move, that's been lost.
Yeah.
I don't think that exists anymore. When Cody Rhodes has to give 7 fucking of those stupid, whatever the fuck that move is that he fucks up every time he does it, and if he doesn't, if he's doing that move correct every time, bitch, get a new fucking move, because it looks disgusting every single time you do it. But I will say that I think finishers need to go back to truly being finishers, and I don't think anyone has a real finisher right now. Everyone has to hit their finisher 6 times or 5 times in the fucking match to put someone away. And I'm all in favor of there being false finishes or whatever, but do that to a finisher twice a year. Don't do it to a finisher. Like, you used to have signature moves. Like, okay, we go like the games. You'd have a signature move, and then you'd have a finisher. Like, do the kick out false finishes with the signature moves. Don't do them with the fucking finisher, because then your finisher is basically pointless. Every time I see you hit that finisher, well, it's not over yet. Like, that to me was the signifying, oh yeah, this is over. And then if you want to fucking do the guy who rarely kicks out of that, he's just so fucking amped up, he kicked out of a pedigree or a fucking stunner or whatever, right? But they don't treat finishers like that anymore. It's like, I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know when that actually shifted, but no, like, everyone is like that. And I don't know if it's guys getting a fucking ego and not willing to job for somebody and being like, oh, you got to make me look like, I got to kick out of your finisher 4 times for me to job for you or whatever. Oh, that's fucking stupid. You're not doing the business any respect. because that's the point of the finisher, is to put them away. It finishes them. And if everybody's finisher is just weak and not doing that, then why are we even fucking calling them that anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But that was my 2 cents on the finisher. But promos also highly important as well.
Rivalries in whatever regard that might be, just two guys that straight up don't like each other.
Yeah.
Or there's stakes involved with marital affairs.
Yeah.
Crazy shit like that. But I think definitely rivalries, or I mean, it just adds to the storyline thing. I mean, two guys could possibly be in the IC title picture. One screws the other over, and then he moves up and ends up being the person in the main event picture. And then 4 months later, the guy that got gypped comes in and interferes in the guy's main event title match. And then you have a fucking rivalry, and then it just builds the next person to be the main event guy, but in an opposite or indirect way from the other person. And it's like you're creating distinguishing paths for everybody to be an individual or to be a superstar. And that might be the heel path to do shit like that. But I think rivalries are definitely a big contributor to what makes wrestling great, to engage people or to intrigue people with violence. Two guys that don't like each other, that are fighting for the exact same thing. I mean, that very much applies to real life, whether you're fighting for a position in your work or whatever. It's just portrayed out in this weird thing called wrestling.
Yeah, and I also think that I don't think there's a lot of wrestling characters currently that are relatable to like our current times or whatever, I guess. Like, I don't think Cody Rhodes is fucking relatable at all.
Probably because he came from a wrestling family.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, listen, as much as I enjoy Roman Reigns, he's also not fucking relatable. Because he also came from fucking the wrestling royalty or whatever you want to call it. Hell, most of these guys are 3rd, 4th, 5th fucking generation wrestlers now that are in the big pictures.
Which is kind of sad, because that makes it seem as though the people that are trying to get in they already have a leg down compared to everybody else.
Dude, Mark Henry, and listen, I love me some Mark Henry, but he's already fucking shilling for his son to go in the WWE. He was at fucking what do you call it, Raw or whatever the other week or the other night, or SmackDown, one of those. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I mean, that's cool and all, but then he's like on an article with his son being like, yeah, he's gonna be in the WWE, blah blah blah, and I'm like, man, that's cool and all, but like, I don't think he should just get a free pass. And I don't care what anybody fucking says. If your dad's Mark Henry, you're getting a fucking free pass. You're going to be allowed to fail more times than someone else who's not Mark Henry's kid, right?
Or else you end up like LA Knight.
Yeah. That's exactly what'll happen. So, but LA Knight, a guy who probably should have been in the main event picture sooner rather than later, may never even get there. Gets passed up because, oh, well, we got to get somebody's fucking kid or so-and-so in there because they're a name or whatever. So, I don't know. Nepotism's garbage.
It certainly is. I'm sure I could find other things to talk about, but what do we at in terms of time?
38 minutes.
You got anything you want? Any final thoughts to what you could say makes wrestling great?
Theme music too.
Theme music. Oh shit. Oh, definitely.
Fuck, we could do a whole episode on entrance music, but I think that can I think good or bad fucking entrance music can make or break a guy or a girl. I really think I think it can. Because if you have all these things but the shittiest fucking entrance music, I almost don't care now. I almost like, eh. And that's not even within your control most of the time. You don't a lot of necessarily get to pick your fucking entrance music. But that can hurt. Or it can help someone who's maybe not that great, but man, their entrance is cool. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I think of what's his face? Glorious.
Oh, Bobby Roode? Yeah. Oh,
Great fucking theme song.
great fucking theme song,
They
great
sabotaged
entrance, and they fucking just sabotaged him. They did nothing with it. And that guy can wrestle. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a good fucking wrestler, and he's good on the mic. That was the dude that, where the fuck is he now? Is he even fucking,
Wrestling?
yeah,
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
yeah, neither can I. But anyways, fuck. To sum it up though, it's not just one thing that makes wrestling great. It's the combined totality of all factors and whether or not you can hit the majority of them and do them well is what makes wrestling great in my book.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
All right. Perfect. If you want to listen to our other stuff, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com. You can go to Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter /X at Game Rage Mag, YouTube, Game Rage Magazine. You can follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official. And you can go listen to the All Gas No Trash podcast. Also, go listen to the Anime Syndicate if you like anime, because why not? That'll do it for us. We'll catch you on the next one. That was another wonderful, amazing, powerful episode of the Game Rage Wrestling Podcast. And take it from me, ladies and gentlemen, the natural lad, Jet Swag. If there's one podcast, one show you should be listening to, that you should be absolutely grateful for, it's the Game Rage Wrestling Podcast. And one of the things you can do to show your appreciation for all the hard work and dedication that these boys put out day in, day out, just for you people, it's that you can go and you can subscribe and you can like and follow them on the Instagram and the TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. You can also follow them and like them and subscribe to them on the old Twitter, which I don't know what it's called now, but who cares? It's at Game Rage Mag there. Additionally, if you feel the need to really show your appreciation, which you should, then go to their website at www.GameRageMagazine.com and show us some love. Show them some love. And show some love for the natural lad, Jet Swag.